Good evening, Music Multiverse listeners. Welcome to Beyond Your Radio and this our panelist's favorite show. And tonight, it's part 2 of our favorite female solo albums. Tonight, we're back to the ladies. Now, this is not about critical acclaim. I'll state that again. Maybe it was a critical darling and everybody else loved it along with us. It's really about what our panelists love. Maybe it's because they played over and over again. Maybe it was a certain timetable it meant to them. It was in the background of their lives or near and dear for some other reason. No matter what, no one is wrong because it's their choice, except for Alex. Alex would be wrong, and that's why he's not joining us tonight. He was intimidated. No, he just can't make it tonight. So on that note, before we start, we'd love to read about your choices. So don't forget to leave a comment, like, and of course, subscribe, because if you subscribe, you'll always get when I release these videos. So that'd be good for you, good for us. You know, like I said, I need a few dollars to buy CDs. Joining me tonight are the ladies. And no one knows music better than these two ladies when it comes to the female albums. All right, these are aficionados. Deb Armitage Maloney from Lockport and Sue Kuligowski from upstairs. We have each picked 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to count them down one at a time. And then at the end, I'll throw in some honorable mentions. And just to let you know, Chef Jeff was planning on joining us. He is not well, but he did send me his picks. So I will pontificate on those as he's sent them to me. And I'll start with him. And then we'll go to Deb and Sue and then me. Cool? All right. So without further ado, obviously, an obvious pick I figured was coming. Chef Jeff chose Janis Joplin's Pearl. It falls in the wheelhouse of what Jeff has always been experienced. She's played with the Dead before. Obviously, a career cut too short. I forgot what the album, when was it released? When was Pearl? Sorry about that.
19.
I'm going to say it's got to be 70-something, 71, 1971. It would be her second and final solo album, 3 months after her death on October 4th, 1970. So this is after the fact. So that was his number 5. Deb.
All right. Well, my number 5 is Patsy Cline Showcase, and it had her hit Crazy on that album, I believe. That was released in 1961. What I liked about Patsy Cline, and it took me a long time after becoming a fan of her before I actually moved into any other country music in my repertoire, but it's mostly because she didn't really represent country as it was back then. It wasn't as twangy as like a Waylon Jennings and that kind, George Strait, that kind of thing. So yeah, and then I remembered how much that I had liked her. I hadn't heard any replays of anything, nothing about her, nothing, no documentaries or anything. And then I had a friend, Teresa. She did a Patsy Cline tribute at the Palace, and it started that whole thing over again. And then it was only a couple of years after that I decided to listen to some other country and kind of like the crossover country, like I think of her.
That's a great choice. And might be, no, it's not the oldest record on here, but definitely one in the older bracket.
Yeah, I have an older one.
Sue, you're number 5.
So I went with Alicia Keys' Songs in A Minor. It was released in 2001. I still remember when it came out because she just has such a distinctive voice sound. It was nice to see. She's not really a pop singer, kind of more R&B infused. But she was sitting at a keyboard while piano, playing classical and fusing that into her music. So that was really cool. 2001, I'm trying to think what the heck I was doing, but yeah, it was a nice change of pace around that time. Probably the most popular song would have been Fallen. And it's just loud, robust, spiritual, everything kind of all at once. A Woman's Worth is another one that I remember.
Yeah.
And I looked that up just because I was curious, and she actually was inspired by a L'Oreal slogan, "Because you're worth it," which is kind of cool. It's nice to see when people take an idea and then run with it on their own and turn it into something else. But yeah, I just like the whole package deal of her voice, her piano, incorporating the classic kind of with the R&B and jazz, and she's kind of been going strong ever since, I think.
Yeah, considering the age of that record, the time that it came out, I mean, grunge was pretty big.
And I was gonna say too, well, yeah, grunge, yeah, but also she was young, which I didn't realize. She was, I think, 16 when she started to work on the album. I want to say she dropped out of college around that time, so kind of interesting too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, cool. I like the pick. So my number 5 is Paula Cole. This is her first record, Harbinger. I know everybody knows Paula Cole from that
Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, the song that came from Dawson's Creek, but this is an interesting story. So this is 1994. This is before all that. And in 93, when this record was being done and made, and she was kind of gathering a spotlight to some degree. And I want to say she was singing with Peter Gabriel, but I could be wrong. I think she was doing background vocals on live performances during the Secret World Tour. Maybe it's ringing a bell to me. Obviously, there are other people that have sang with him as well. She got radio. She was, I guess, the single had gone out, which was "I Am So Ordinary," which struck me immediately when I heard it. But what happened was she had a record label, but as the CD was being released, the record label went under. So she had no exposure, no marketing, no nothing. And she was then touring with Sarah McLachlan. And you and I saw her at Chase. She opened the show.
Okay.
And I had already had the record, but it just put an emphasis on that. While I Am So Ordinary is kind of a calming song, the rest of the album is very dark and kind of edgy from her perspective, like songs like Saturn Girl, Bethlehem, and Chiaroscuro, which is a very dark, more alternative type of sound, which basically is the drive of most of this record. So
what was that again?
Chiaroscuro. I can't think of what the song's meaning was at this time because it's been a while, but I just remember it being very, the whole record is like that. Garden of Eden, The Ladder, which is Jacob's Ladder. Bethlehem is on there. There's a lot of great songs. It's funny because when you probably see her live, she'll play songs from This Fire, which was the bigger selling record by far, but these will be the ones that most fans will remember and want. Her deep cuts are pretty good. This is my number 5 from 94, Paula Cole's Harbinger. Now I'll get over to Jeff's. Okay.
Ooh.
So this is Cher's Dancing Queen. I remember specifically Mr. Johnson saying, when we do album challenge, nobody sends me ABBA. And I'm like, Jeff, those are ABBA songs. He goes, I know, but she just makes them beautiful.
I love it.
I go, listen, what everybody knows about ABBA is that it's catchy, right? ABBA should actually be called a disease, really, honestly. The songs are catchy, right? And when you hear them, you know them, they kind of get you. And I just think their versions are what bothers most men, maybe. I don't know. I think if somebody else doesn't have a song, like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh yeah, I remember that. I think that's where Jeff comes in along this one. Although he's always had a thing, Sonny and Cher, from all the years past. So when I first saw this, I thought I saw Cher. I'm like, oh, it's going to be the one where she's in the thong on the boat, and I'm just, whatever music video was. So I can't remember the song, but so anyway, Chef Jeff has chosen for his number 4, Cher's Dancing Queen, where she covers all the ABBA classics.
Good job, Jeff.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Well, my number four is Annie Lennox, Medusa.
Nice.
That was released in 1995. Obviously, she's from the Eurythmics, and then she went out solo. I don't think that was her first solo album, though. I don't recall.
No, the first one had a crazy cover, Carnival-like, I think. I can't.
Yes, I think you're right.
While you're talking, I'll find it. Hang on.
Okay. I really, it's a timeless album to me. I can listen to it, and it doesn't, outside of it bringing up memories of a certain time, I wouldn't be able to date it specifically if it didn't have like a personal meaning. I just think that the songs are, forever lasting and beautifully written, and I just love her voice. And in 95, I was actually going through some personal things, and it just was a very calming album. I had it on in the car. My CD player had it in there 24/7. So that's why I picked that.
The first album was Diva, which she is not. You know what I mean? Which is kind of interesting how she would have that. But that was 92. That was 2 years prior. I do not have this on CD. I only have it on cassette.
Really?
Yeah.
You're old.
Uh-oh.
Wait a second. What? I'm old. Aw. Good pick. She was on my list a couple of times because that songs of mass destruction. That's her voice is astounding. Even when she was with the Eurythmics, 2 of my favorite songs, by female artists. I mean, when she wails, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
Sue, your number 4.
So I went with Cyndi Lauper. She's So Unusual, 1993. Just for something fun. I was just trying to think back of, the younger years, and Cyndi Lauper was everywhere. And obviously Girls Just Want to Have Fun was played every 2 minutes for like a decade. Made it into a couple movies. I'm trying to think of the one. Oh, I can't think of it now.
Working Girl?
No. So Matthew Broderick's wife was in a movie where she danced. And I want to say
Sarah Jessica Parker was in it?
Yeah, with Helen Hunt. I want to say.
Really?
I'm pretty sure, unless I'm crazy.
You said 1983, correct? Not 93?
Oh, did I say 93? Yeah.
I just want to make sure. 83. I don't want,
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a little late because I was just thinking of MTV.
Well, that would have been I'm talking about the grungy Cyndi Lauper.
Yes, I'm sure she was right up there with Nirvana.
But yeah, so what else? So also there was like Time After Time. That one made it into Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. And then All Through the Night, kind of like a softer sound for her. But yeah, I think that album went platinum 6 times. It's just an 80s anthem album, and I would listen to it today.
Love it.
So the song, the name of the movie you're looking for is the name of the movie.
Is it Girls Just Want to Have Fun?
Yes.
And is it Helen Hunt?
Yes.
Very good.
You're on it. You're on it. You're good. All right. So my number 4 is the wailing voice of the blues today and back then, even a few years back, is Beth Hart. to me, Beth Hart is the female that has every right to sing the blues. She nails it every time. And on this record, which is from 2015, which is nowhere near her start, she nails it. That staccato, her range, her songwriting, she knows trial, tribulation. Every day she wakes up, she remembers what she was and what she'll always be. And this whole idea of better than home is emotional throughout the whole record, despite the different changes in how the blues are presented. There's some, will be electric blues, and then there's a little bit pulled back, slower blues. But Saint Teresa, when she does songs like Trouble, it's going to be a harder hit song. And then, of course, this particular record has acoustic tracks, and she does Saint Teresa acoustically. I would implore anyone that loves the blues and loves voices like Hart, the other Hart, Ann Wilson, would love this. She has actually also covered Led Zeppelin in an entire record. I think she's the only person to have the cojones to do that. And she's also sang at the Kennedy Center to induct people like Robert or Jimmy Page, that kind of stuff. So she's got the chops, and this record has everything that you'd want in hearing from her. And she started in a pop blues culture when her first records came out, and this is much more blues driven. Okay, that's my number. So Chef Johnson, Chef Jeff took Diana Ross. So obviously everybody knows Diana Ross. And this is actually a newer album, in considering her catalog. This is from 1980. It's the 11th studio album at that point. It's like in May, so it's Motown. This is actually the best-selling studio album of her career, spawning 3 international hits, including the #1 Upside Down. In 2020, Rolling Stone named Diana the 394th greatest album of all time out of the top 500. So, I know that Jeff's a big fan of the Motown of that era. Always has been. Deb.
My third pick, Amy Winehouse, Back to Black, 2006. I actually really hadn't heard any of the songs on the album outside of the hit. But I had watched a very interesting documentary on her growing up, just her background with her family, just all the different little back bar bands that she had to be in. And I thought, well, that's my kind of music. So that's when I started listening to her more than just what, the random song coming on the radio. So yeah. And she died in 2011.
Yeah, you're an artist who takes like no prisoners, right? She did what she wanted to do, how she wanted to do it. Every single time, fought everything. Some of the live shows that were recorded are pretty good to listen to. I wish I would have been able to see her at one of those points.
Yeah.
That's probably a quintessential. I mean, could they call it a throwback record? I honestly think it's a reinvention. I think, you know what I mean? That's a great pick. Great record.
Thank you.
So
number 3, I went with Blue by LeAnn Rimes, 1996. So she was all of 13 years old, I believe, when the album was released, which is kind of crazy. She started singing at 5. She recorded the actual song. She recorded Blue at age 11. And something I didn't know, apparently, Blue was actually first recorded or put out or produced, whatever, in the 50s. So did not know that, but it became her song, I would say, at that point in time. And I would say in that song, you got to see her voice, her personality, her conviction, and other songs on there that come to mind were The Light in Your Eyes, Blade to Blue or Fade to Blue. Talk to Me. I remember listening to that album quite a bit. Trying to think. Gosh, that's such a long time ago. But yeah, I want to say that was one of those ones that was on repeat. I don't think there was a really bad song on the album, and it was I don't know, country kind of pop, I guess. Did you like it, Mark? I don't like country, but
no, it's in the collection. It's over there. It gets played maybe once a year, maybe just about. I mean,
bring her out once a year.
That to me was her best vocal performance, which is what hurt. You picked up the next record, you're like, what are they trying to do? Just let her sing. You know what I mean? There's too much other things going on. It's what they do with Celine Dion. It's what they do with these people. They sometimes they overproduce and just instead of letting them sing.
I mean, I kind of related to when I was reading a little bit about Alicia Keys, and early on, they did try to do a similar thing with her and, force her into kind of a stereotype for that time. And she just said no. I just kind of waited until she was ready to do her thing, which is kind of cool. So
yeah, honestly, my one thing, if I was ever producing or doing any of that nature, would be to leave the band alone. I don't know they do what they do. Why do I have to direct them? Why do I have to? I shouldn't say producing. That's different. But I mean, when you're the record label, why does what's his name, David Geffen, have to go down and go, here's what you should be doing? What?
Right.
You're an artist. You should be doing what you're comfortable with. Because if you're not comfortable, it looks fake and it sounds fake and it doesn't get purchased, or it gets purchased and then you become something you don't want to be, and then you're up the river. Yeah, I agree. And she was fantastic on The Masked Singer. Absolutely fantastic.
Sure.
Yeah. Hopefully that will revive her a little bit, So my number, what are we at? 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Lost track. My number 3 is Canadian piano, classical, jazz, pop, rock, alternative, female extraordinaire, Sarah Celine. Her album Land and Sea, which is from 2011. There are plenty of her albums that showcase, but nothing more depth than this. This is 1 hour and 11 minutes. It's a double disc set. The Land is sort of the pop, radio-friendly style, and the second record is more the orchestrated. She has this wonderful knack of metaphor and playing around with history. She has a couple of songs. One of the songs is about Napoleon, and it's hilarious. And I have a Twitter repertoire with her a while back, and we used to go back and forth about things. And one of the times I just teased, I guess I better be careful with metaphor. And I spelled it wrong. And she said, "But you spelled it wrong." So
It's funny.
It's a great record. It gives you the range that this woman has. I call her the female Sting in writing. I think she has that knack for depth and finding the right words and emotions. And she has a way, if you ever get to see her live, she has a way of relating that to the audience and dangling on the piano. And so that's my number 3. Chef Jeff did not disappoint. he went with Ella Fitzgerald's Lullabies of Birdland. Obviously, this will probably be one of the oldest records, I think. Let's see. This one is 54. The album features tracks recorded during the 40s and early 50s. So somewhere in that mix. I think the final cuts were 54. So, Ella is maybe the most important female artist of music. If not for her, don't know where anything would be or anyone would be. So it's an excellent choice. Think about this. It's 34 minutes. Records back then were not, 50, 60, 30 minutes, 34 minutes. And there's probably like 20 tracks on them, probably 2 or 3 minutes apiece. So anybody have anything to add on Ella?
I almost chose her. So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we grew up. My dad.
No, you were last week was Billie 2 weeks Billie Holiday, right?
Yeah, I went with Billie.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Deb.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My number 2 is Kate Bush, Hounds of Love. It was released in 1985. She's like progressive art pop. She's, in that wheelhouse. I think I like that album so much because I was actually introduced to her through a song she did with Peter Gabriel, who I love Peter Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I heard something off of one, I don't know if this was her first album, but solo album, but whatever song was on the radio for the first time, and I went, I know that voice, and I couldn't figure it out. And then all of a sudden it was, oh, she was the singer with Peter Gabriel. So, I've always loved Genesis and Peter Gabriel. And so that's really why I chose that, because I can listen to that over and over again.
Yeah. So on my list, I have a Kate Bush record, but it's nowhere near the old. Her Sensual World record, which came out probably 89, maybe 90, okay. 88, I'm going to guess. There was always something familiar about her construction of music, and I didn't really realize it until I realized the Pink Floyd connection.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that too. Yes.
So
yes.
Sensual World has a lot of that, and I believe it has one of the best songs ever written about women, and that's This Woman's Work. Right. And her voice is just unmistakable. Like Tom Petty's is unmistakable.
Yes.
Hers is unmistakable in another way. There's no one that sings like Kate Bush. No one.
Mm-hmm.
And if you even tried to, I think actually somebody covered a Kate Bush song. Oh, was it Matthew Good and Holly McNarland together just recently? Okay. I'm just like, I think so. On Matthew Good's latest record. It's just like, ooh, do you do that? I mean, like these people on these talent shows, I'm doing Kate Bush. Why? Because it's on Stranger Things? No, don't. You can't do Kate Bush. Don't do it. Yeah, right. Maybe you can make it your own, but that's not. That's synth pop, progressive, craziness. Yeah, it just doesn't. I don't know. No one's done her justice. She's in all her own for sure. That was a great pick. And I always thought like every time I heard that it was like a Hounds of Hell. And they go, no, Hounds of Love. Oh yeah.
Well, that almost came out of my mouth. That's why I put my glasses on. Just as a double check, because I don't think that's what the title is.
No. Sue, your numero dos.
Well, I just want to say that we heard Running Up That Hill about 1,000 times. Was it last summer or last spring?
Mm-hmm.
In Marina's bedroom. So I got my Kate Bush bill. My number 2 is Tidal, Tidal by Fiona Apple, another 90s album, 1996. Moody, it's poetic, it's jazzy. Title is like a wave of emotion, mainly kind of sad, depressed, angsty emotions. But and I don't even know. I'm not quite sure if she wrote the lyrics, Mark, or not. Some of them.
I want to say she was everything. She seems like the
Yeah, I think she's a songwriter.
individual.
Yeah.
I'll look.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, super clever. They sound like poetry in lyrical form. Sullen Girl, Sleep to Dream, Shadow Boxer, Criminal.
Shadowbox are great too.
Criminal, I think, was probably even more so on the radio. Yeah.
I want to say Criminal was the one of
Yeah.
the single, maybe the first single on the record.
I
It seems
thought
to be.
that I thought that she would kind of like inspire a lot more people to come out after her to be similar, but maybe people were just like, I can't even touch that because I don't think anybody followed her and pulled it off. I mean, and, people can sing depressing and moody, angsty songs, but she just had a flair about her. And we did get to see her live, I think, once, right, in Rochester, maybe.
Yeah, she played the theater. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And she was pissed. Sound issue. I remember her just apparently she has a anxiety or something disorder. She has something that she can't. And she was dating Philip Seymour Hoffman at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
I think was he there that night? I can't remember because his hometown is Rochester, right?
Yeah, he was from Rochester.
Yeah, I think he was there. I think he was there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that record I want to say is mostly written by her. It's funny because this was a critical darling. I mean, all music, and everybody loved it except Rolling Stone.
Oh yeah.
Rolling Stone gave it 3 stars. But then later on, they were all over her, when that second album came out, which has the longest running title by a female.
Yeah.
And the Pawn, blah, 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 blah,
right.
blah, blah. But anyway, yeah, she just came out with a new record last year before. No, that's a few years old now. That got pretty good review too. And it's funny, I listened to it. It didn't sound like hers to me. It's, and again, overproduced in a way, maybe, I guess. Okay.
Number 2.
To me. All right. So this will be the first time that someone cheats. And it's my show. It's my channel. I'm cheating. My number 2, I have 2 because they are similar. Okay. So the first one is Florence and the Machine. Okay. Florence is the lead singer. To get that. All right. This is how big, how beautiful, how blue. No, how big, how blue, how beautiful. I could not, for the life of me, get that Ship to Wreck out of my head. I built this ship to wreck. It's just a fantastic song. And I'm like, God, after that being that fantastic, how good can this record be? She's got a whale of a voice and she can sing. And she can bring it in a low octave, a high octave. She's got wonderful range. The orchestration is crazy. And to be honest with you, the record before it was really good too. So I was kind of amazed that we're moving forward and even getting better, right? And this is what was maybe their third record. I want to say I didn't put what's the date of this record? And they were all around the same time. Yeah, 2015. So this is the same year as Beth Hart's Better Than Home. All right. So there's Delilah's on here, Queen of Peace, Third Eye. There's 11 tracks, and it's over 48 minutes long. I was just there is a live version, live concert. I can't remember the title of it. I think it was MTV. It was supposed to be unplugged, but it's technically not unplugged. It's gorgeous. It's the orchestra, everything. And she's someone to be. I don't know if this Florence and the Machine will continue, or she'll do something else by herself, or she probably can do anything she wants to do. So that's my number 2. But my number 2 Ty has maybe a little bit more power than she does, but she's a little bit more in the mainstream of pop, and that would be Adele. Adele's 21 is something to be reckoned with. I don't know how she does it. I've never seen her live, but I can't even fathom what it must be like to try to sing every song like it's your last breath. There's no break. There's nothing. I mean, it's crazy to me. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, and she goes on live and does these shows. I can't even imagine what it's like. She has the most powerful voice in music today. And if the song choices are great, she'll continue to be that way. If the song choices aren't, it can be a problem. The last record didn't do anything for me, but you can't make them all out of it. But I do love the fact that she does her age at the time as the album title. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I it's a tie. And now, since I've opened that Pandora's box, I know my other panelists at some other show will probably try to do that, and they're more than welcome to. It's okay to have a tie. I deem it's done. Okay, all right. So Chef Jeff, for his number 1 is Stevie Nicks' Belladonna. Stevie Nicks has probably one of the best rock voices there is. When she sings, it's from the heart, despite the crack of the voice or anything of that nature. She's I remember Grohl. Oh, stop. Why is this doing this? It's, David Grohl saying that, wow, when you hear her sing, that she's got it. She's in it to win it, right? So this album was 82, I want to say. It was remastered in 2016, which I don't have. I wonder how good that sounds. Because, 80s production was kind of issue-y, right? Because they're using tapes and stuff. And
right.
Yeah, 1981. That was 1981.
Wow.
So.
We should compare.
And of course, them. Say again?
Compare them.
Oh, yeah, I'll probably have to. But obviously that has leather and lace. And it has the quintessential Tom Petty classic with her "Stop Dragging My Heart Around." Deb, speaking of another.
My number 1 is Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday. It was released in 1947. She's a jazz artist, but she wasn't like some of the, like an Ella Fitzgerald that did the scat and the, she just sang, but very distinctive voice, interesting life, sad life. And you just kind of wonder, how did she accomplish so much in her short life? But one of the reasons it's my favorite is I just remember, it's one of my earliest memories of music. My dad loved her, and it was not unusual all the way till I moved out of the house that it wouldn't be on, and hey, do you want to play chess, or make a fire, and it just is a homey type reminiscing. So that's my number 1.
It's funny when people talk about how your family, your father, your mother influenced you, and all these other people say these things, right? I can't do that with mine, because my family was into disco.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not a good show. The only thing you remember with my dad and that is I had Smother Brothers records and disco records, right? So we were trying to be funny in disco. I don't think there was anything else.
Me?
Yep, it's you.
All right, so my number one is KT Tunstall, Eye to the Telescope, 2004. Probably, if you're not really too familiar with her, you probably heard Black Horse and the Cherry Tree, or Suddenly I See. I want to say Suddenly I See was probably part of a TV show too, but I really liked Other Side of the World, and I don't know if that got a lot of airplay, but I think the first time I heard the whole album was we were on vacation, Mark, over there in that lake
House on the Hill in Canada.
Yeah, and it was just very soothing. It was perfect relaxation kind of music, and so she went far beyond just like being a radio kind of pop singer. She has a lot of depth to her, and the music's good, and I still go to it because it's solid music. So
she's an excellent guitar player. Excellent guitar player.
She played in Buffalo too, right? I want to say we saw her at the.
What are you talking about? Thursdays in the Square?
That club next to the movie theater downtown. What can I think of it?
Town Ballroom?
Yeah. I want to say she was there.
The Trout?
Nope.
No, Town Ballroom.
I hate to I don't remember ever seeing her.
I'm pretty sure we did.
Okay.
I don't know. I have a memory of it.
Okay.
But
was she the opener?
Don't remember that.
She was the headliner. Maybe I didn't go.
Maybe.
That's possible.
It would have been the 2000s. Early.
It's possible.
Before children. So
yes.
I'm kind of a blur, to be quite honest with you.
Well, it's your background.
It's my background.
Your
back.
Yeah. Stay out of your background. You'll be okay. I will second that the Tunstall record was on my list. That is by far my favorite. I think it's because it's rooted in the blues, and how it's delivered, her voice, everything. But she is a very diverse artist. Her other albums do not touch on that at all. They're completely different. One of them's like a Western cinescape kind of thing, and one's progressive. And then one of them's just off the hook, like her and Jeff Beck had never mind. I was gonna go somewhere. I won't. It's just she hasn't made that kind of record now. It's not like I want her to make that kind of record, but I'm just that was the one that I agree with you, that played all weekend, along with some other records that I think have been probably mentioned on this show. So yeah. Okay. Good pick. Good solid number one. Any guesses?
No.
No. Okay. Do we know the album cover?
No.
It's Alanis Morissette's 1998 supposed former infatuation junkie. No, it's not Jagged Little Pill. Jagged Little Pill, don't get me wrong, Jagged Little Pill sold more copies than any other female artist in the alternative genre ever. I don't know how many millions of platinum records she sold, but it's crazy. This album is not Jagged Little Pill. This album is still that lyrical, bombastic thing she does, which I enjoy immensely. It was just something to me. It's larger scale lyrical production. It's much more deep, emotions and highlights. It's not anger. It's enlightenment. It's not bitter. It's repentant. And how she delivers this it's astoundingly engrossing for me. And it's lyrics are leading everything, right? The ambient music background is sometimes there. She's got Middle Eastern tints here and there. There's some harder edge stuff to kind of bring you some of that Jagged Little Pill, but it's gone, you know, and it's been gone since that record. The other albums do not. Hell, she made an ambient record last year with no words at all, which is, for the woman who uses words all the time, seems crazy, doesn't it? But this record has always been played more for me because of, you know, Thank You to me seems like a quintessential thing to have after a record of such proportions that Jagged Little Pill was. I Was Hoping Would Not Come. I mean, there's 17 songs on this record. It's crazy. With all the lyrics she has, it's an hour and 11 minutes too. And my own, I guess my favorite song on there is Sympathetic Character. I'm my own sympathetic character, and I kind of relate to that. And I know that's kind of funny how it's a female, but I relate to it. I'm showing my depth as a man. Anyways, that's my number one. Do any of you have any ones that didn't make your list that you would love to showcase now or talk about?
I didn't. I was lucky to get this far, hon.
Well,
I'll listen to you guys.
I have a few. So I'm going to try this. Here's Sade, Lovers Rock. What a wonderful voice. This is the oh my God, can't think of the guy that, you know, if you're gonna put on a love making record, there it is.
Like Barry White.
Yeah, there you go. That's the guy I was thinking of. Yeah. This is Serena Ryder from Canada. Her album, there you go, it's called Harmony. Great tracks on here. This is from late 2000s, like 2016, maybe 15, 16. Maybe even later than that. Beth Orton's Trailer Park. If you've never heard of Beth Orton, you can pick any Beth Orton record. This is going to be a trippy folk record that's done with sort of computerized music and acoustic. Her latest record is outrageous, deep, and there's no folk on it whatsoever. It's a clever, maybe the new Portishead in a way, kind of weird. I don't usually say this too often, but I'm Lucinda Williams. I don't usually like country. She's not technically country. She's kind of blues. Saw her open for Neil Young, and this was the record. It's the World Without Tears, but Car Wheels on the Gravel Road, which came before this. That's a quintessential classic for most Rolling Stone magazine kind of lovers. I'm going to leave this one away for a minute.
Mark just couldn't.
No one's going to know who this is. What'd you say?
Just couldn't make up your mind tonight, huh?
Well, I wanted to get these in because we might not do this again. So this is Bic Runga, Drive. She's I want to say she's Philippines. Soft, beautiful voice, beautiful delivery. Nothing angsty here, just lovely, poetic vocal. Okay. And then it's Canadian. What I believe is probably one of the best produced female albums of all time. I didn't want to put on here because everybody knows who it is. It's Sarah McLachlan's Fumbling Toward Ecstasy. This is a record that is always on my playlist. If it would be the greatest of all time, bar none. If Ice Cream wasn't on here, that's a crappy song.
It's a good song.
Your
honestly,
love is better than Ice Cream.
That was she does deserve to be on one of these lists for sure. I think she was just so played here in Buffalo. Like every other song was Sarah McLachlan for a decade.
That first cut of the guitar of Possession is probably the best opening of a female song ever. Every time when you hear it, it's distinctive, it's fresh, it's new, and then her vocal comes and you're blown away. Yeah, Ice Cream, can't do it.
I like it.
I know. And of course, this Canadian was going to be on the list. This is Sass Jordan's second album, Rats. Racine is very good, but this album she's a little bit more feisty and angry. You know, songs like Damaged, Pissin' Down. Yeah, there's something females don't sing about too much. High Road Easy, Head, Ugly. Yeah, this is the jagged little pill for Sass Jordan. By the way, she's like 4'9". And then finally, I have to give a shout out to one of my favorite Canadians who doesn't get, just doesn't get enough love, probably from anywhere else but Canada. And even in Canada, I don't think she's exactly as well known as she should be. And I've mentioned that before. Do you know who it is, Sue?
Yeah.
This is Emm Gryner and her very early record, Public. This is a pop record. I make no bones about it, but it's really well done. She didn't have a lot of help getting this and making it, marketing wise, but the songs on here are heart-wrenching in a lot of instances. There's a song called Acid that I love beyond any other Canadian song written by a female. 89 Days of Alcatraz, Summer Long, which is the hit off of there, Hello Aquarius. She's done marvelous records. I picked this one because it's a pop record and it'll give you a little bit of a start. But she's done piano work, piano ballads. She was doing background vocals for Rob Zombie. She's done it all. And just recently, new record. It's the first time she's had a record label in a long time. And it's kind of a throwback 80s type of record. She's actually covered, just so you know, I've mentioned this before, if people found me underrated, but if you're not, she's on the new Def Leppard record because she covered Pour Some Sugar on Me, and they took her version of it and made it their own with an orchestra and with her. So if you don't think she's got, you don't know her and you're like, oh, whatever. If Def Leppard and these other people are, she sang with David Bowie, by the way, too, just in case you're wondering, this girl knows what she's doing. So she should have been on the list. There's so many albums and stuff that I like. This one here, which is not well loved and doesn't get, it didn't sell millions of copies. As a matter of fact, the covers record she did afterwards sold more copies. Anyway, I stop there for now. So I want to thank my panelists, my wife, and my best friend Deb there for coming on and doing this for Ladies' Night for our part 2. I want to thank Chef Jeff for throwing me his list at the last minute so that he could, not be sick on camera with us. So we're on the web at www.beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Yes, I did a LinkedIn account now. I am not putting my social media stuff there, but I am going to put the YouTube links there. You can check out Album Review Saturday, forthcoming, Unknown Sundays. Next week, Chef Jeff's Music Bites will be Rhythm of the Saints by Paul Simon. I'm looking forward to posting that. Thank you all. Remember to like, subscribe, and please comment. If you hate me, put a comment down. I'd talk to you then too. I don't care. After that, I thank everybody and happy listening, everyone.